Again, Merry Christmas to all of you. It's a wonderful joy for me to be able to greet so many people through this televised Mass today, and to assure you that you all remain in my prayers, especially those of you who are homebound and those who also have fears because of the contagion that's out there. You are very close to us in this moment. It might seem striking to us that here the greatest moment in human history is shared not from the rooftops of downtown Jerusalem or even in Bethlehem itself, the small village, but rather to those who are out in the field, these shepherds, whom many people consider to be very third-class citizens, not worth much at all, and in fact looked down upon so often. And yet, if we're careful about looking at the scriptures, we see that that is how God has acted time and again. Think of David, the shepherd boy, the youngest of 8 brothers. The Lord chose him, even passing over his older brothers, finding out that he was the one who was out in the field yet, and called him in and anointed him king. Same too with Joseph. Joseph was one of 11 brothers, and they shunned him, they snubbed him, they disregarded him and sold him into slavery. And yet God chose him. Both David and Joseph were used by God to do wonderful things, especially in a way that looked out for those who were downtrodden. David looking out for those who were hungry, and Joseph himself as well, making sure that those who suffered from the famine were fed. The same is true with these shepherds. They not only receive the message of the birth of Jesus, but they leave the comfort of their safety in the fields and come into an unfamiliar place to share this good news in a way that allows them to give joy to Mary, Joseph, as they care for this child Jesus, wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. It seems to me that the shepherds offer us a model for how we might celebrate this Christmas and even look upon our own spiritual life as it relates to our participation in Mass. It is important for us to keep in mind as we come here today that there are moments in our lives in which we have felt snubbed, ignored, overlooked, disregarded. And the Lord tells us today that we should see those moments as opportunities in which He calls us to be sensitive to those people who are ignored, who are snubbed, who are overlooked and ignored. That when we are in touch with that experience in our lives, we should not sulk or feel down about ourselves, but look at it as an opportunity in which the Lord is calling us to be close to those who so often are disregarded in life. I think that is true as well for how we should think about celebrating and participating in Mass, whether we have to do it from our homes or by coming to church if we're healthy, that we're really here for each other. I always like that story of the father of a large family telling me how his oldest daughter, who was 16, came to him one day and said, "I don't want to go to Mass anymore, Dad, because it's the same old thing, and I don't get anything out of it." Well, the father said to her, I kind of understand that. That's tough. For instance, I've been waking up at 5 in the morning, 3 times a week at 5 o'clock in the morning to take you to swim practice. And I sit there and I watch you go back and forth, and it's the same old thing. And I don't get anything out of it. But he said, when I see you compete and what it does for you, then I say to myself, life isn't so much about what I get out of it, but what I'm able to contribute to others. And so he told his daughter, so when you go to Mass, look around you and see maybe that elderly woman who just lost her husband, who's mourning the loss of her spouse, or that classmate whose family is going through a divorce or a tough time financially, or that man who was just diagnosed with cancer. There are people all around you at Mass who need your prayers and your support. You're not there just for yourself, but you're there for them. And even though it might seem like the same old thing, and you don't get anything out of it, it's an opportunity for you to be sensitive in order to give something to someone else. I believe that that is how we should also look upon our participation in our faith as we come to a new year, to reevaluate what it means for us to practice our faith, to be active in the life of the church, to realize that those moments in our lives in which we have been ignored or snubbed are real moments of grace to remind us that we have the power to allow Jesus to use us to be close to those who are in need, those who have been snubbed, ignored, overlooked, and disregarded. That, I hope, is the message of the shepherds for us tonight, this noon, this day, as we celebrate this Eucharist. It's an opportunity for us to truly experience the fact that the Lord is with us in those moments in which we have been ignored, those moments in which we've been disrespected. And he tells us that we are to step out of those moments, like the shepherds did from the hillside, and come to see the Christ child in the faces of so many people who are like this child, so very vulnerable, who's wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. There's so many people out there who need us in our communities. Let that be the Christmas message that the shepherds give us today.